Barney, It's Time for Counting is a brilliant blend of counting numbers and telling stories. This is a Barney and Friends special from 1998, directed by Stephen Feldman, and I had my first ever potential specific Barney memory. I watch Barney and Friends for the nostalgia, but I don't have that many specific memories of Barney episodes or Barney specials, but there was one story in this where I'm pretty sure it triggered a specific memory, and I'll mention that in a moment. This focuses on the children exploring books in the library that Stella read on her last visit because it seems like she's misplaced some numbers from her clock and it won't work without all of the numbers. So they go through these stories, we see them acting out the stories, and the stories all feature a number in some way or another. And as they tell the stories and discover those numbers, they obviously find the numbers they need for the clock. It also starts out with a really brilliant way to get children engaged in counting with a number-based treasure hunt, where they have to find one of this object, two of this object. For example, I think it was 5 round things, a certain number of fruit or something. And that's a really great way not only to get children active and moving around, but getting them to apply numbers in a practical situation. And I love that. The great thing about Barney, certainly back in the day, is that the children would take part in activities that are really easy to replicate either at home or in a school environment, and this is certainly no different. And there's a lot of love for the library in here as well. And we have some brilliant stories, such as The Goose That Laid the Golden Egg, and the one that triggered the memory for me, The Enormous Turnip. And it's the mouse character that really triggered that memory. I'm not 100% certain if this is what I'm remembering, but there was just something about it that was really familiar to me. Not the story specifically, I've read the story, in a lot of different books, but the way this was staged, the characters, the costumes they were wearing, it kind of came flooding back to me. So this is the first time that's happened, and I'm really glad, because I was beginning to think that I just couldn't remember Barney at all. As well as a really brilliant structure, we have some great songs, of course. The Library is a really brilliant song. Books Are Fun is one I love. We have various nursery rhymes like Little Boy Blue, and they call it Hickety Pickety. But for me, growing up, it was Higglety Pigglety. And I don't know if that's a British American difference. I imagine it is, but I found that to be quite fascinating as well. There are not as many songs in this as there are in previous Barney specials, because this definitely, understandably, focuses more on storytelling, which is something that, of course, works very well. And I think it's got a really brilliant structure and really combines the beauty of stories with the fun of counting. And I love that. Alongside Barney and Stella and Booker T. Bookworm, we also have Baby Bop and children Kristen, Kim, Curtis, Ashley, and Robert as well. So I really enjoyed it, I have to say, and I'm so grateful for it for kind of potentially triggering that memory, because as I said, up until this point, the songs were nostalgic, but the scenes themselves weren't. It's Time for Counting is brilliantly put together, really shows that numbers can be fun, and also tells some wonderful stories as well. Definitely a delight.